on our growth path to work with our airline customers throughout the world. This morning, as Christian mentioned, we have a historic announcement on two fronts. First of all, we're launching the A321neo XLR. Air Lease was a launch customer of the A321neo LR, and we've had tremendous success. The airplane opened up a wide range of new routes, new markets for airlines, flying across the Atlantic and on long distances. Now with the XLR, we open up a whole new dimension of routes, up to 9 hours flight time from anywhere in Europe, North America, Asia. So it opens up a wide range of opportunities. So we're ordering 27 firm A321neo XLRs, another 23 A321neos, which can be the basic A321neo or the Neo LR. And the second phase of the order today, comprising of a total of 100 aircraft, including the A321s I just mentioned, is our first order for 50 A220-300s, the newest member of the Airbus family. We believe that this aircraft will be a wonderful replacement of aging A319s, 737s, Fokker 100s, BA146s, and other smaller size jet aircraft. So we're very excited. We spent several years analyzing this airplane, and now with Airbus being the primary focal point on the program, we've developed sufficient confidence that the market base can expand, and Air Lease will work hand in hand with Airbus to widen the customer base, the airline customer base for the A220. So we'll be a strategic partner. Those 50 aircraft will deliver between 2021 and 2026, and they'll complement our existing strong commitment to the A320neo, the A321neo, the A321neo LR, and the A321neo XLR. So we're very proud, very pleased to announce this 100 airplane order comprised of the 50 A321 family and the 50 A220-300 family. John?
Thanks, Steve. So, we're very proud. We started Air Lease in March of 2010 with nothing, no aircraft. And with a good measure in part of help by Airbus, we've grown plane by plane by plane. Now to be one of the largest lessors with one of the largest order books in the world today. As Steve indicated, the A220, it took us a few years to study this airplane, but under Airbus's ownership and leadership, we see a very, very expanding role for this market. We see this airplane very, very strongly across the North Atlantic between Europe and the USA. We also see it between North America and South America with the extended range of up to 3,000 nautical miles, a little bit more than that. So it's a natural evolutionary step for Air Lease Corporation. We see this aircraft as more now the mainstream aircraft, and we've seen so much interest in the last 6 months from airlines. We, like any other company, respond to what our airline customers are asking for, and they are now asking for the A220. And similarly, the A321XLR is a natural product evolution for Air Lease Corporation. We're big believers, obviously, in the A321 Neo family, and including the LR, we're a launch customer. So with these platforms, with this additional 100 units of single aisle, with Airbus, Air Lease Corporation is now, I believe, one of the largest single aisle customers in the world for Airbus industry. We're big believers in this product. And so this is more than anything else a testament to our belief in the future. These orders go out through 2026 on all these different model types. We believe in the growth and commitment of air transportation, and we believe in our role in that growth and commitment. And this order allows us to expand, provide environmentally safe and the most environmentally friendly aircraft that are offered in the world's airline fleets today.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Stephen. And now let's come to the signatures.
Okay, yeah, there is no order without a signature, is there? So
wait, I'm sorry. Actually, Christian, my CFO authorized me to give you the American Express card. We had to increase the limits quite a bit, but
Christian, just one more thing. I just got a text message from our board of directors, and they want to examine if there's one more little discount. Kind of a quantity discount. That shows you how cheap Airbus is.
These are euros, they're worth a little. So, ladies and gentlemen, why don't we do our quick signature here? It gives us a photo op, and then I'll take the liberty of showing you a little bit more detail about what this XLR actually is. If you'll indulge a mini presentation just after we do our ceremonial signature.
It's called a sales pitch.
Okay, go this way, gentlemen, please.
Guys behind.
Thank you. We can do one with paper.
here's the official signature. It's a very complicated contract.
Merci.
Okay.
Next come
To
No, Stefan. Christian goes there.
Also to the podium.
okay.
Can you shoot the presentation?
So, thank you again very, very much, Steve and John and all the ALC teams. In passing, of course, also thank you and congratulations to my colleagues. It's not always a walk in the park to come to terms with these five gentlemen. So, thank you very much again. Now, let me show you very quickly the reasons for why this XLR is attracting Air Lease and maybe a few others. What is the XLR? The XLR is clearly, as Steve mentioned, building on the vast market penetration that we've achieved with the A321 altogether. We have about 2,200 or so A321neos on order as we stand, and we have the LR version, which we saw emerging over the last few years, having achieved already a lot of market penetration. You can see here some of the illustrious airline names, not to mention the lessors. 13 operators, 130 aircraft. That gave the market a reason to pause and to ask us, hey Airbus, can you do a little more? Because we see the relevance of this module flying longer ranges these days, opening new markets. And sure enough, yes, responding to market trends and pressures, Airbus raises the hand and says, yes, we can. This is the A321XLR, ladies and gentlemen. It is an aircraft capable of 4,700 nautical miles of range in a typical longer range configuration. That will be 2-class configuration. It is therefore, by definition, for ranges like this, the lowest risk investment deployment for an airline opening new routes in that sector range compared to existing aircraft, well typically 757s that are flying this type of mission today. It is a whopping 30% reduction, as John mentioned, in fuel burn and therefore also in emissions. And of course, it relies on the established market base of the A320neo family and the 2200 A321neos that are already out there. More graphically, what kind of ranges does this airplane achieve? Well, you can see it here. We can fly from northeastern Asia into South Asia, Sapporo, Delhi, for example. We can fly from the Middle East down to Bali. We can fly from Japan deep into Australia, across the Atlantic, no longer just the so-called fish and chip airplanes that fly in and out of the UK, but deep from Europe deep into North America and vice versa. From North America to South America, and so on and so on. What is it? It's very simply an A321 with a structural fuel tank installed, fixed fuel tank installed. You can see it here in the lightly blue shaded area right after the wing. It's a structural tank. The beauty of this tank, it holds the equivalent of 4 auxiliary fuel tanks that we previously would have to put in and out of the airplane. It only weighs the equivalent of 1 of those fuel tanks, and it only takes the cargo space of 2 of the fuel tanks. So it's pretty much a win-win-win design. The airplane is capable of receiving 1 additional auxiliary fuel tank, which will be located somewhere just forward of the wing for extra range. But we have liberated, despite the fact that we put in all this extra fuel, we've liberated cargo space for obviously high density flying on longer ranges. The takeoff weight, previously we went up to 97 tons of takeoff weight. The takeoff weight now goes all the way up to 101 tons. It's got therefore slightly modified landing gears, and that's, ladies and gentlemen, is the 321XLR. The beauty of it, it's part of the existing family of the Neos, all the way from the 319, 320 up to the A321. Same crew, same engines, same cabin, basically a no-brainer. Talking about the cabin, since we are flying longer distances, the new A321neo cabins available across the product line are equipped to receive full flat beds for these longer ranges, wider economy seats, the mood lighting, the kind of cabin amenities, 4th generation IFE, which is the high throughput IFE, high definition screens, and so on, the connectivity of the Airbus wide-body offering, which I believe sets the standards today in passenger comfort, and very importantly, the largest, by far, the largest bins in the cabin for carry-on bags for the passengers. This is the so-called new airspace cabin, which will be prominently featured on the A321. More importantly, perhaps for the bottom line of our customers, 30% lower fuel burn and therefore emissions, we mentioned before, than the former generation airplanes flying these type of missions, 50% NOx emissions reduction, and a 20% margin versus stage 4 noise restrictions. A extremely contemporary aircraft with latest technologies, ladies and gentlemen, to open up all these new markets, completely integrated in the family. That's it for my little sales pitch. I hope it answers all your questions. I would like to congratulate and thank ALC again for being the first to announce and among the first to launch this aircraft. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christian. Just to give you an overview of the success that Air Lease has had with the A321neo LR, I want to read to you some of the airlines that have already signed for the aircraft with us, and most of these have already been announced publicly. Aer Lingus, Ireland. SAS, Scandinavian Airlines System. Azores Airlines in Portugal. Air Arabia. Air Astana in Kazakhstan. Peach Airlines in Japan. S7 in Russia. And Sky Airline in Chile, South America. It just gives you a rough, quick overview
some of our A321neo LR placements to date, and more in the works. You can see how this airplane family will capture a very wide geographic coverage of airlines that need this additional range capability of A321neo. John?
We'd be happy to take your questions at this time.
So let's start
Yes.
the question, and the first question goes to Max Kingsley Jones, here in row 2.
Do I need a mic or can I just shout?
Mike is coming.
Okay. Thank you very much. Simple question, Steve and John. Does this aeroplane do enough, and perhaps any iterations of this aeroplane, to make Boeing have to seriously rethink the plans for something called an NMA?
Well, the only thing I can tell you is that the latest version of the XLR, the latest configuration, with the 101 takeoff weight, 101 ton takeoff weight, the additional fuel, the integral fuel tank, the airplane has more range and has a wider, more spacious cabin than the 757. So I think that should signal the capabilities of this product and the importance of market penetration that the XLR will be able to get in the months to come.
Look, I think it's, should be obvious.
That part of Airbus's strategy here is in fact to borderline that potential new aircraft from Boeing. And it does provide a very, very effective airplane, as I mentioned earlier, for a lot of the same routes that the NMA would be targeted for. But it does so many years earlier. So we won't get into the Airbus versus Boeing argument, but facts speak for themselves. And we believe that the NMA will continue to be under development. But certainly this aircraft at the lower end, in terms of the seating size, et cetera, is a formidable competitor. And we'll get the first deliveries in the back end of 2023, so we'll have a substantial timing advantage over any other product that's under consideration. The other benefit that we see is a lot of the airlines that have shown interest in the XLR already have A320, A321 family aircraft in their fleet. So in terms of crew transition, ground handling equipment, integration in ground facilities, terminals, jetways, it's going to be a lot easier to add this aircraft as an incremental set of units to their longer haul network without disrupting the basic infrastructure of an airline.
Next question goes to Casey Boyd from AIN.
Thank you very much. The press release said a letter of intent. Is it a letter of intent? Is it more than that?
It's a memorandum of agreement. We have agreed on all the commercial business points. But as you can imagine, since it involves the A320, the A321XLR, there's a lot of detail work that we will accomplish with Airbus between now and August. We will complete all of the detailed documentation. But it's a firm memorandum of agreement. And this is our normal course, obviously. This is typically how we do it. But as you can imagine, all key terms have been worked out, and we're happy to proceed forward.
Next question goes to Robert Wall, Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, hi. The question is for Christian, really. Can you give us an example of a transatlantic city pair that you think this opens up that couldn't previously be served because they weren't wide bodies? And secondly, just if you look at your 20-year forecast, how big is the space for this kind of a plane? How many units?
Robert, I'm going to generally try and stay away from crystal ball forecasts, but there will be hundreds of these airplanes, hundreds. I want to respond to your very good question on the city pairs. As I said previously, these type of airplanes were flying coast to coast. I'll give you an example. Let me not give you the name of a city because that might be a little conspicuous. But let's say a secondary hub, not a major hub, but a secondary hub on the eastern seaboard, now with this capability opens destinations such as Rome and Budapest, for example, that previously were outside of the range of even the LR version of the airline.
For example, you could do Barcelona, Chicago. That's the kind of markets
And we're also looking at north-south from Texas, Florida. You can literally serve everything in South America, down to Chile, Argentina, Brazil. In Asia, we also see a lot of north-south opportunities from Japan, Korea, and cities in the northwestern part of China, down to Southeast Asia, in a more effective way. Markets that are just not big enough for wide-body aircraft.
Next.
He said Budapest because he wants us to pay another nickel for these aircraft.
Next question goes to Reuters, Altmaier.
Question for Christian Scherer. Can you give us the catalog price for the new A321XLR? And how many other customers are really interested now, and maybe how many other kind of orders you could announce during this show?
I'm not going to give you a catalog price unless you intend to order these airplanes via the internet, which is not exactly the way we airplane.
We'll take Steve's Amex and we'll order.
Amazon is not yet taking orders for
Yeah.
that.
So I think the question of catalog pricing is pretty much irrelevant. I don't mean to suggest your questions are irrelevant. The catalog prices are relatively meaningless. So you see us gone relatively silent on catalog prices. Look, this is an air show. Let's not have the show before the show. Will there be other XLR commitments in the near future? I dare say yes.
Let me just add that, as I said about the A220, we respond to our customers just in a very, very brief overall way. We see over a potential of at least 50 new airline customers that will include the A321XLR in its portfolio over the next 5 years at minimum.
Next question goes to Flight David Kaminski.
Question for Christian. Is there a payload limitation on this to get the